Alrighty, so we are on to Doggie Photographer. Wow, what a very nice and very talented puppy you got here. At any rate, here is the challenge. This one should have been done on your own, so you should be completely done with the problem. And now you're watching the video, and if you have any mistakes, you're going to fix your mistakes as we go along here. Here is the scenario. You have a very talented dog. Not only can he frolic and bark like a normal dog, but he is also a very gifted photographer. His only problem is that centering people in the frame, he can't really do it too well. He cuts off their head or other body parts. Most of his photographs show the right portion of the person, but he is getting better. His last two photos were his best. One photo shows 4/5 of the person, and the other photo shows 3/4 of the person. Your task is to find out if these two photos were added together, how many people does your doggy photographer have in his photos? So, without further ado, I will show you how to solve this problem. If you get anything wrong, just fix it. Alrighty, so the very first thing I'm going to do is shrink this so I got some room to work. And I'm going to start writing the problem. And the problem is that on the first photo that he took a photo and got 4/5 of the person in the photo. And on the second one, he got 3/4 or 3/4 of the person in the photo. Now, first of all, I want to talk about fractions. I'm going to say what I've been saying all along. This can be thought of in three ways: 4/5, 4 out of 5, or 4 divided by 5. And this the same way, 3/4 or 3 out of 4 or 3 divided by 4. I'm going to show all three of those ways as we go along here. The first thing I want to do is create two fraction boxes. So I am going to simply make a box, and then I'm going to make a second box that is about the same size, and put them side by side. And now I'm going to work with this box first, and I want to make 4/5. Now the deal is that if I'm breaking it into 5 parts, the denominator tells us how many parts it's broken into. And if I'm making it into 5 parts, then I'm going to draw 4 lines. So I'm going to just do that right now, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, and 4 lines will give me 5 parts. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for this fraction, I'm going to draw, I need to break it into 4 parts. So I'm going to draw 3 lines. So I'm going to just go 1, 2, and 3 lines should give me 4 parts. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Fantastic. So now, with the numerator, it tells us how many we get out of these 5, right? So I get 4 out of 5. So I'm going to go ahead and color in 4 of the 5 parts. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 5. And in this case, I get 3 out of the 4. So I'm going to color in 3 of those. And I'll just color in right here. And I get 1, 2, 3 out of 4. Now, these are different sizes because this is cut into 4 parts and this is cut into 5 parts, so I can't add them together. I've got to cut this up so that I have common denominators, right? So I do that by finding my least common multiple, and I call it the LCM. So I'm going to write LCM right here, which stands for least common multiple. And here we go. I'm going to write the 5 first, and I'll write that right here. And then I'm going to write the 4 and put that right here. So I'm finding my multiples. So first I'm going to count by 5s, and that's easy. 5, 10, 15, and 20. And then I'm going to count by 4s, and I'll just go 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. And right there, bingo, I've got it. I've got 20 and 20 right there. So those are my least because they're the first common denominator I come to, or common multiple I come to. So I'm going to turn these into 20ths. So for the first box, I got to cut that into 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So 4 parts means I'm going to draw 3 lines. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and 3. And that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. And then for the second box here, I'm going to cut it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, which means I'm going to actually make this a little bigger so it's easier to draw those lines. 5 parts means 4 lines, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4 lines, and that should give me 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 parts. Fantastic. So now, all I have to do is count these up, and I will know my answer, right? So let me move this a little bit so you can see all this. And here we go. I'm going to count what I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31. So 31 is my numerator. That's how many I get. I get 31 out of the 20, right? Because I have 20 parts in one box, right? Now, this is what I call top-heavy or improper because the numerator is bigger than the denominator, right? Which means I have at least one hole here. So I can take some of these pieces and move them over here. Now I need to fill in 4 pieces, so I'm going to just grab 4 here. And watch how I do that. I'm going to erase these 4 or kind of take them away. And I'm going to move them right over here to fill this in. So now those 4 are filled in, and now I've got one hole here. I'm going to use a big marker here. Whoops, that's not a big marker. That's what I want. That's a 1. Dun, dun, dun. So I've got one hole here because it's all filled in, right? And then I got to just count these over here. So I'm going to count, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So I've got 11 out of, well, actually, first I got this hole here. So I've got one hole. So I'm going to write one hole. Oops. I'm going to write one hole. And then I get 11 out of this 20 here. And that's from the 11 here out of the whole 20 that it would take to fill this up. So I got one hole and 11 20ths. These are the same number. This is a mixed number and this is a fraction. So if you did all that correct, fantastic. If not, hopefully you've already paused it and started fixing. And now I want to talk about the algorithm. So let's do the algorithm right next. And I'm going to do it right next to it here. So I'm going to start and I'll do this in, let's do green. Sounds fun. All right, so I'm going to take 4/5 right here. And then I'm adding 3/4 to that, right? Now, once again, I do not have common denominators, right? So I'm going to look here to my LCM and figure out what I need to multiply this by. Well, anytime you're multiplying a fraction and you want to get the same fraction, right, just a different number, you really got to multiply it by the giant 1, right? And that's because anytime you multiply any number times 1, you'll get the same number. In this case, we're going to have the same amount, but just a different fraction that will be, you know, like this one, we had it cut just this way, and then we cut it this way as well. And it gave us the same amount, but a different number of boxes inside there, right? So here we go. I'm going to multiply the 4/5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 over 4. So I'm going to put 4 over 4 right here. And then that's going to give me a new fraction. 4 times 4 is going to give me 16. So I'm going to write 16 right there. And then 5 times 4 will give me 20. So I will write 20 right there. And then now I got to multiply this one by the giant 1, right? And that is going to be I'm going to look over here at my least common multiple, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to multiply this by 5 over 5. So I'm going to go 5 right there and a 5 right there, which is the giant one. And here we go. 3 times 5 is going to give me 15. So I'm going to write 15 there. And then 4 times 5 will give me 20. So I'm going to write 20 right there. And I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to make a little more room for myself. And if I take 6 plus 5, I'm going to get 11. I'm going to drop my 1 and carry my 1 right there. And then I've got 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is going to give me 3. So I got 31. And then remember, with your denominators, you're only just dropping them, because all it does is tell us how many parts we cut each of these boxes into. We'd cut them into 20 parts, right? So I'm going to drop my 20 right there, and 31/20 is my answer. And as you see, it agrees with my illustration answer that I got right here. I got 31/20. Then I started moving these parts over here to fill this in, if you remember. And that's what I'm going to show you next. So now, remember, when you're talking about fractions, you can think of them in 3 ways. 31/20, 31 out of 20, or 31 divided by 20. In this case, we're going to do divided by 20. So I'm going to do that right here, and I'm going to take 31 divided by 20. And 20 will go in there one time, right? So I'm going to make that, and that'll go 20, right? And obviously I need a little bit more room here, don't I? So I'm going to move that up a little bit. And then if I take 1 minus 0 is going to give me 1, and 3 minus 2 is also going to give me 1. And then you take this, instead of putting it as a remainder, you're going to put it as a fraction, and your remainder goes in the numerator place, right? So 11, and then your divisor here goes into the denominator spot. So I'm going to put that as 20 right there. So I've got 1 and 11/20, which, as you see, agrees with my illustration right there. And that, my friends, is the entire answer. You're all done. If you made any mistakes, please just fix them. And that's a great way to learn. I will see you next time. Until then, have a fantastic day.